ladies, y'all can go ahead and come up here. We're going to do something a little different this year. Are y'all okay with doing something different? Maybe? A little something different? All right. So these ladies have been asked by our women's conference team. I feel like I'm like right on top of the edge of the stage. If I fall, somebody catch me, right? These ladies have been asked by the team to come and share a little bit with you guys. So we have some questions we're going to be asking and just talking. We're calling this our life panel because we want to just get to know these ladies and some of the things that they have faced, and maybe that can speak to you in whatever situation that you're going through right now, or maybe you've gone through a situation and you're like, did anyone else ever face this? I mean, seriously? So we want to hear their stories and hear what's going on with them. So first and foremost, though, we're going to introduce ourselves and make sure everybody knows who these wonderful ladies are. So go ahead, Miss Lois.
Make sure your mic's on. I'm Lois Kimbrell. I live here, or live in Clarksville with my husband, Travis. We've been married a little over 31 years. We have 2 daughters. They're both grown and are public school teachers, so we have a lot of education people in our family. And we have our oldest daughter, Ashley, is married to Zach, and they have one little boy, Elijah, who's 20 months old, and most of you hear every Sunday morning. So he's our highlight.
My name is Frida Martin. I'm Emily's mom. I actually live in Russellville. I'm still in education. This is my 39th year. I'm an instructional facilitator, so I went from teaching in the classroom, now I teach teachers. So I have 3 daughters. Katie's our oldest. She and Charlie live in Dover. They have 4 children. Then Megan, she's the one that's on the piano. She and Josh are in Van Buren at the moment, and they have 2 boys. And then, of course, Emily and Seth, and they have 2 children. And all 3 of them are in some type of ministry, so I feel really blessed for that.
Hello, I'm Debbie Griggs, and I'm married to David Griggs for 47 years. And I have 3 children, 9 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. And we love it here at Hedgeway. This is our family.
All right. So I'm going to ask you guys just a few things, and I'll start with Miss Debbie. Miss Debbie, what is one of the greatest accomplishments in your life?
Well, to me, my greatest accomplishment would be just being a mother and a grandmother, raising, 3 God-loving children. They're great. They're a great family, and I don't know. I guess that's not really a big accomplishment to some people. They've got more things in their life, but I've had several things. I've had businesses and stuff like that, but to me, that is my greatest accomplishment. And I want to leave a legacy for my grandchildren and stuff like that. I want to be a little bit of a parent, a little bit of teacher, a little bit of friend, and of course a whole lot of love there, and then also I want to be a partner in crime. But to me, that's my greatest accomplishment.
Well, I'm not going to call her Frida. That's Mom. Sorry. Her name is Frida, but she's my mom. So, who is one person in your life that their legacy impacted your life?
I would have to say probably my mom. My mom instilled within me such a love for the Lord. She always modeled it. She always taught me the first thing to do is pray about it. And I have learned over the years how important just taking things to the Lord is. And she just always modeled that, even with hard times. And if there wasn't food on the table or needed bills to be paid, the first thing we did, my mom prayed about it. And I can remember as a child being woke up many times to my mom praying or calling my name in prayer. And so that is something that I want to make sure that I hand down to my daughters, to my grands. When my grands come and we spend the night, we always have a bedtime prayer. And I pray with them because I want them to know the value of prayer.
Little tidbit on Mama. This is after her. Whenever we had her funeral, everyone talked about the legacy that this woman left. She was a prayer warrior more than anything, but the legacy she left was so impacting on so many lives and so many people that they're not even family, just people in general that were friends. They always knew that Charlotte Martin, she'd pray for you and she would be there for you. She was always there. And I always wanted to live, I want to be the legacy that she has left for me, And so this theme came to me with praying, and we lost Mama a couple years ago. And that theme came to my heart, and I couldn't shake it. So this is in honor of my Mama. That's just an added bonus. That's not part of this. Okay, so Ms. Lewis, if you could give your younger self some advice, what would that be?
Think before you speak. You can't ever take back words. So always think before you speak. Smile more, worry less, play more. The laundry will get folded, washed, the dishes will get done. You will feed them something, whether you cook it or don't. Just be in the moment. Be in the moment with your kids. Be in the moment with your extended family. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't judge. And that is so hard. I mean, you can tell yourself that all the time, but, even now you're like, you think of things and you're like, no, don't judge, because you don't know what that person's been through. You don't know the context. You don't know what's going on with them. Even though you think you may know, you don't know. And pray. A lot.
Awesome. Miss Debbie, with your life, what storms and struggles in your life changed you as a woman?
Well, my first thing I think of about it is the loss of my daughter and my granddaughter. It's, my daughter died in '98, and my granddaughter just died a couple years ago. And if I did not know the Lord as my Savior, I couldn't get through it. And what it taught me is, that you can get through anything as long as you know Him. And I hope that nobody's had to go through this, but if you do, just lean on Him, because He's the only one that'll get you through it. But it's helped me to know that God is there for you, no matter what it is.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about those stories?
My daughter was just traveling, and they had a car accident, and she was fine at first, and then Lady Di, how they tore that main artery in her heart, and she just, they couldn't fix her, so. And then my granddaughter was, just doing something that she's done all of her life. They were getting ready to go to school, starting in college, and she was just with some friends, just tubing, and she let go, and it broke her neck, and then of course she couldn't, raise her head up, and she drowned. But um, they were just such good kids, just so young. My daughter was 22, and my granddaughter was 19, and just starting their lives. And my daughter had 2 young children, in which I got the privilege of raising, and they're just such wonderful girls. And I'd do it all over again if I had to, but that's about it.
I just wanted to let y'all hear that they weren't sick or anything like that. It's tragedy, just pure tragedy that happened in the blink of an eye. But God was there.
Jay's there.
He's always with you.
And it's still struggle. I mean, you still have struggles, and it's always going to be there. But
Every day is a new day.
yes,
And one day might be a little harder than another.
yeah,
But through it all.
yeah, through it all.
That's right. Mom, what was the biggest setback in your life, and how did you overcome
I think the biggest setback in my life happened about 10 years ago when my normal got shifted, and was somewhat of a death of our family and a death of my ministry and a death of the life as I knew it, because my marriage of 34 years ended in a very public, somewhat shameful way. And we were in full-time ministry, and so I had to learn kind of a new identity. You know, we as women, we're real good at our identity being mom or grandmother or whatever we do as a business or whatever our job is. But, you know, my life and my identity, which was so connected to ministry at that time, you know, it ended. So where do I go from here, and where do I fit in? And because it was a very public and somewhat shameful ending or a tragedy that took place, I felt very alone. It wasn't something that I felt like I could share or that I could go grab a friend. And then, of course, I didn't feel like I could go to the church at all. And I realized real quickly that, you know, even though I had been in ministry and I had served in the church and served in ministry for years, there's a difference in serving the church and serving God. And I realized very quickly that it was up to me to regain an identity and to make sure that I had a relationship with God, not a relationship with the church, but a real relationship with God. And because my mom at that time had already been diagnosed with dementia, I couldn't go to her. So I really had to start using those things that she had instilled in me. I had to start going to prayer. And I did. And one thing that I learned is that you don't have to recite the Lord's Prayer, and you don't have to recite certain words. You can truly have just a conversation with God, really exposing your feelings. And He understands when we get mad, and He understands when we're hurt, and He understands when we don't understand. So just having that conversation with God and getting in His Word. I didn't even know where to start. Where do I go in the Bible? So I went to Psalms, and I just started reading the Psalms and reciting them over my life and just trying to pour the Word of God into my life. And as Debbie said, when you go through tragedy, I don't know what people do that don't know God. I really don't, because He's the one constant. He's always faithful. He'll never steer you wrong. He's never going to share what you share with Him. He's faithful and constant, and He will give you a peace and a comfort to know that He's with you. He never will leave you. He always has your best interest at heart, and He always takes the things that happen in life that He doesn't cause, But he always takes the things that happen in life and he always turns them around. And you can look back and you can say, oh, wow, I've come a long way, but it was through God that it happened.
For those that don't know, that tragedy of that happened with our dad, mom's husband, is he chose to live a life that is very shameful, but he chose that life and chose that over our family and what we had, but he had been doing that for a long time. We just didn't know it. He had been doing it for how many years? Was it 34 years, something like that? For 34 years, he was living a lie, and he was really good at it, which is kind of scary, but you don't ever know what's going on behind closed doors and what a person is really doing. That is what is was very hard for us because we were in ministry and we did all of that, and so we were in a position where a lot of people knew us, right? But then whenever something like that happens, it throws you completely off guard. My dad chose to live a homosexual lifestyle. He was a minister my whole life. How does that add up? It doesn't. There's no answer. It just doesn't add up. But it doesn't mean that we, as girls, did anything wrong. It's a choice. Every day, every person has a choice of what they want to do and how they want to live. So if someone hurt you, that's not God. They had a choice. They had a choice. Miss Lois, what was the biggest challenge in your life in achieving success, whether that be spiritual, financial, relational with your family, or any of those things?
I think the biggest challenge was my childhood. I come from a very large family. We were very poor. We weren't brought up in church. I chose to go to church, and my sisters would go with me. And sometimes my brothers. I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters. But we didn't have the typical normal, happy, loving family. There was abuse. There was alcoholism. And I had to make a choice. As you said, everyone has a choice not to stay in that. To this day, when people say, how did you and Travis get together? I wasn't, really going to church at the time. We met at my work, and I truly believe God sent me. He did come from a very strong spiritual background. Not to say that we've always walked the right walk. Everyone has challenges. Everyone faces issues. But you always have a choice. And if you're living in something like that and you're being brought up in something like that, even after we were married and we had our girls, they're my family. I still love them. But at one point, I had to make the choice not to continue to take my girls around them, and that was very hard. The way that they would act and behave, and the things they would do, they knew that wasn't something that we believed in, and that we wanted our girls to witness. And at first, they tried really hard not to. But then they did. And then it comes to a point where Mackenzie looked at me one day and said, Mom, why does Granny Beck love Katie more than me? Katie was my sister's daughter. That is hard to explain to a child. Well, a grandparent loves their cousin more than them. And why, do they do these things when we come around? So, yes, I still have some contact with them, not much, very rarely. I still love them. I know I'm judged tremendously by choosing not to continue a relationship with my family. But I had to make that choice to move forward and raise our children in an atmosphere in a home that they weren't. You can't always protect your children. They're going to be subjected to things and see things and hear things that you don't want them to. But when you have the choice to do so, you have to stand up for your kids and do that. And not only for your kids, you have to do it for yourself. There's a lot of stuff in my past that you still have to make. I still have to think about and think. My mom's birthday was a couple weeks ago, and I'm thinking I really should have been seeing my mom, but you don't know what you're going to see when you get there, or what you're going to experience, or what you're going to hear. So that is hard. That is still hard, but I made the choice, and I had Travis to always lean on. He's always there. If you want to go, we'll go. The girls, of course, they know who they are, but they also experience some things. Me as a parent, I tried to build that relationship and move forward and let them know them, but I had to stop. And I had to stop for their safety and for our safety, and to just not be subjected, to that. So that would be the hardest thing, was making that choice.
That's all of the questions that we have, but we have something for you guys. If you can start that, please. They don't know. Thank you, guys. You're welcome. Didn't they do a great job? Amen. Y'all give us just a second as we are pulling all of this off the stage and redoing things here. Did everybody find the tissue boxes okay? Okay, I'm making sure y'all did find those. They're hidden under some of those chairs. We're going to just do a little bit more worship. If y'all want to stand with us. And I know that was sad and some hard things to talk about. But someone needed to hear it. You go through things that life just isn't fair sometimes. But as you go through those things, if you're with the Lord every step, you grow a little bit each day. Your relationship with the Lord grows a little bit each day until you become the strong woman that He made you to be. You're strong during those situations. That's why it says He never gives you more than you can handle, but He's always pushing you a little bit to grow a little bit, to get just a little bit closer to Him. All He wants to do is love on you, but you have to let Him. If you don't open your arms, you can't give a hug, right? Just open your arms up and let Him give you a hug. Let Him love on you. And let you know that He is your Father through every storm, through everything. You've been on good days, right? I mean, I like to have good days. He's there, cheering you on, loving on you. All you have to do is open your arms up and let Him in. Oh,
Good morning, ladies. All right, I'm going to have to say what Miss Emily said. Y'all going to have to liven up a little bit. Y'all were quiet last night. I'm used to a loud ruckus. I really am. So, I don't want my rattling necklace to mess up the microphone, guys. So if it does that, don't make some sort of sign if it's annoying. I don't want to take it off, but I will if I have to. So how'd y'all sleep last night? You get some good rest? All right. Don't go to sleep out there on me. We did too. I never go to bed before midnight, and I was so tired I don't know, I think it might have been that cupcake I ate last night. I was in a sugar coma by 10, but I slept really, really good. The panel this morning was phenomenal. That was so good, and it fits perfectly with what I want to talk about here today. Kind of like this phrase and theme that's been in my head for like the last 10 years is without warning. I needed a warning. I needed a heads up, like heads up. Something bad's getting ready to happen. Heads up, you're getting ready to get just whammed from the side. We don't get those. We don't get a heads up. It could be little things, it could be big things. We don't get those warnings. But a funny story, well, I have a lot actually. I have a lot, but I could do that all day long, but I know y'all got a life to live. But I always have these, we talked about stupid things last night that happen. I seem to have more than my fair share of stupid stuff that happens, and I don't know why, but I've just decided that I'm just going to talk about it. Might as well. My kids are always like, I have a blog and I write stories a lot. And Frida said to mention that. The blog is TanyaRoar.com. You can look at my name. TanyaRoar.com is real simple. So when my kids would do stuff, they would pause afterwards and say, Mom, please don't write about that. And the motto is, you know what? You don't do stupid stuff, I'm not going to write about it. But if you do stupid stuff, it is going in the blog. And it is out there in space forever. So you can't ever get away from it. But I've done a lot of stupid stuff in my days, but there's a few that stand out. One of them is back when Facebook first started. I was getting, used to it. And you think when you're writing on Facebook that you're just 3 people see it. You're just thinking, I hope so-and-so sees this, or it's a message I want to get out to my women's group or whatever, not realizing that the planet sees it. Everybody sees it. Even people that aren't on Facebook can see it eventually. You screenshot, you put it on something else, you send it, it just goes everywhere. So our Sunday school class was getting ready to have a Hawaiian luau. And let me back up. My husband is on staff at our church. He's the CFO. He takes care of all of the money, which means I don't get to spend money at home, and I don't get to spend money at church. I don't get to spend money anywhere because he oversees everything, and he's the tightest man that ever walked the planet. He is so tight. So anyway, we're going to have this Hawaiian luau. We're having it out on our property, and I want to have these tiki torches out, because that kind of gives the ambiance, But I didn't want to go buy them because I could just hear him saying, do we seriously need tiki torches to have a party? So I thought to myself, why don't you get on Facebook so the whole wide world can see it and ask if anybody has a tiki torch or set, that we could use. So I'm doing my little household duties, and I get on my little computer, and I type it on Facebook. I am in the need of tiki torches. If anybody has them, please let me know. Send, share, press, whatever that is. And I close my computer up, and I go do a good hour of laundry. So I come back, open my computer up again. I see these guys over here and these guys over there. We're going to pretend they're not here. Okay? They're not here. It was just us girls. So I open up my computer, and I was like, dang, there's like 70 people that have commented that they have got tiki torches for me. This is awesome. So I start reading the comments, and the first comment was, what kind of party is this? And then the second one said, I thought this was a church party. Remember, my husband's on staff. That's our livelihood. That's how we get a paycheck. So if we don't get a paycheck, we starve. And then it said, our kids usually come to this. Can our kids come to this? And I'm like, what are they talking about? Well, tiki did not come out as tiki. It came out as T-I-T-T-Y. Like torches. And I was like, oh my God, we're gonna lose our job. Because every time I get ready to speak or anything, my husband pulls me to the side and says, okay, now be careful with what you say, make sure your filter's clean and that it, is working well. So, and I was like panicking. I was like, what do I do? It was new to Facebook. I didn't know how to delete it. So time goes on and I start reading the comments and it's pretty comical, And one of them's like, I remember distinctly said, for the love of sweet baby Jesus, please do not delete this until I can show my wife. I'm like, what's baby Jesus got to do with this? Nothing. And then someone said, don't worry, I've screenshotted it. That's what I'm talking about. It lasts forever. To this day, my grandmother named what my kids call me is Sweet Tea. To this day, people still call me Sweet Tiki. So it stays forever. So anyway, I couldn't figure out how to delete it. And so it's just generating, Pastor Devin's wife, Miss Tanya, said, tiki torches. So finally I get this really sweet text from our pastor's wife. Hey, I'm like, yeah, I know. You might want to go ahead and delete that. And I was like, I'm trying to delete it. Anyway, by the time I finally deleted it, the damage was done. I did that also for, we had this big conference at our church where there was the district conference. And we were in charge of the chocolate extravaganza afterwards. So I made 1 million pieces of different kinds of chocolate. Anything that could be covered in chocolate, we did it. So the day of or the day before, I realized that I'm in over my head. I had 2 or 3 ladies helping me, but we still had hundreds to make. So I thought, I'm going to make a mass text, first mistake, to all the pastors' wives, second mistake, to see if they will come help me with the chocolates. So I said, I was wondering if you could come help me make chocolate-covered goodies. But it came out as if we could make male chocolate-covered goodies. Again, I'm very innocent. I'm just trying to send a text. And I close my phone and I open it back up and it's just going berserko. And people are like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm on my way. And I'm like, these pastors' wives are so awesome that they want to help me. And then I realized they're being stupid by making fun of my text. So, some things you can't prepare for that. You can't prepare for that kind of stuff. You just got to roll with it. But one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me in my entire life, in all honesty, Dana was with me. It's her fault, basically. We went to, for our birthday, me and Dana and Susan share similar birthdays. So we go out every year and just do something, go out to eat. Or we did a escape room one time and there was like 3 skeletons in the room by the time they found us because we couldn't get out. And then last year we went to see a Christian comedian. It wasn't Shonda Pierce, it was somebody else. I can't remember her name. She's on Facebook, has the big mouth. I can't hear you. Whatever, you know who I'm talking about. She's a comedian. So this was at where was it? Like Performing Arts Center in Tulsa. It was a big place. So we go upstairs, we're up in the nosebleed, and we're watching It's Funny, we're laughing, we're having a great time, and then we have an intermission. There's thousands of women there. So what 1,000 women all want to do at the same time? Pee. Everybody wants to go pee at the same time. So I go out with everybody else, and I'm like, there's no way. I'm standing in line for these 500 women. So I sit, talk, on my phone or do whatever, and talk to Susan, and Dana goes to the bathroom. She does what I don't do, she does. So she goes, and I'm like, well, when everybody goes back in, I'm going to be the smart one, and I'll go back out when no one's in there. So we all go back into the auditorium when we sit down. She sings, says a couple of more little funny skits, and then she gets to the piano and she starts to sing and gets a serious note. And I'm like, I don't feel like being serious, so I'm going to go to the bathroom. So I go out to the bathroom, and there's no one around. The lobby is completely empty, and you walk into the bathroom. Here's the door. There's a stall, and then there's 47 other ones. I mean, it's huge. No one is in there. So what do you do when you walk into the bathroom? And you've got to go, you go to the first stall. So I go in, hang my purse up, and I had my phone, I guess maybe in my hand or my pocket or whatever. Anyway, I had it. And I use the bathroom, and I do my thing, and I turn around to flush the toilet, so I'm facing the toilet. I flush it. It explodes. Not spray. I know what spray is. It doesn't overflow, a nice little, it explodes on me. And it didn't stop. It wasn't like a psh. It was like the cartoons. It was like shh, shh. And I'm in the stall, and I can't get out because I'm freaking out. First of all, who does that? Who puts a stall in a performing arts center in Tulsa that explodes? So I'm screaming, oh my God! And I've got my phone in my hand, and my purse is hanging up on the hook, and I'm trying to get it off, and I'm trying to open the door. And I open the door, and I am a wet rat. It's on my glasses. Now, this is toilet water that hadn't been flushed. So it's on my phone, it's on my purse, it's on my glasses, and my hair. And I open the door expecting there to be someone there to feel sorry for me or to say, oh my gosh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I'll open the door and I walk out and I'm slinging this water off of me thinking, what am I going to do? And this little girl walks in, not little, she's probably 20. And she said, I looked at her and she said, oh, that toilet again? I said, again? And I'm having to think, Sister Tanya, you're a pastor's wife. Be nice, be nice, be nice. And I'm like, you knew it did this? And she said, well, yeah, a couple of times. It's exploded tonight. And I said, why wouldn't you there's 40 stalls. Put a sign on it that says, don't use this stall. And then this woman walks in that was a little bit older, and she was like, oh, that toilet again. And she said, let me get you a towel. So she at least got me a towel, and I dry off everything and gagging because I've got pee on me, and I still have the rest of the program to go sit in. So I go back, I sit down with my two unassuming friends that don't know anything, and after it was over with, they stand up, and I said, Dana, feel of my hair. She said, oh, did you use that toilet? Yeah. My best friend knew about the toilet, but she didn't give me a heads up. And then for 15 minutes, she's like, I can't believe you used that one. That's so hilarious. And then she'd get real calm and she goes, why did you use that one? I'm like, why not use it? It's the first one you see. Why wouldn't you tell me? She goes, I don't know. I just thought you wouldn't use it. It was without warning. Who has a preparedness kit in your purse in case the toilet explodes? Nobody. You're not prepared for that at all. It reminds me of the story, not that there's an exploding toilet in the Bible, but it does remind me a little bit. This little phrase in Matthew chapter 8, verse 23. Then the boat he got into and his disciples followed him without warning. Another version says, suddenly. A furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. And they acted like I did. They were like, how can you be asleep? How can you be asleep when there's a storm out here? There's no warning. I mean, you've been in a storm before where it just hits. It's just out of nowhere. That's what they were thinking about. A few years ago, actually, last year, we have a lot of property, and so people want to use our property, and I cook for a venue for different functions. So I have a garden party that I host at my house every year for a group of ladies. But with a lot of property comes a lot of work. So I'm out in my yard doing all this kind of stuff, and I was also trying to have a yard sale. And my husband was actually home that day because he's always working, always doing something. So I had been recovering from major foot surgery on this right foot the year before. So the surgery was a year old, and it was a terrible surgery. It took me forever. If you've ever had foot surgery, you know it's just not something that you bounce back from. I limped forever. So at this time, it was pretty much healed, you know. So I am working, and I go to step off the end of my porch, which was maybe like 2 steps, but it was, you know, down, not a big deal. And there's a bunch of ivy down there. So I was just gonna step off the end of my porch to pick up a chair that had blown off, and when I did, my knee went sideways. Not forward, not backwards, completely sideways, and I fell and busted it. Tore my knee all up. That, and then in June 1st of this year, I fell again. I swear I can walk, but I keep falling for stupid reasons, and I broke my left elbow. It just happens so fast. You can't prepare. You can't even think of which way should I brace myself. I wasn't going fast. I wasn't doing anything heroic. I wasn't like chasing a burglar or anything. I just stepped and twisted my ankle, fell, and broke my elbow. It was that fast. You can't prepare yourself for something like that. And you know, whenever something happens that you didn't know that could happen, and a lot of times it's bad, like, you know, listen to Frida and the girl's story this morning. You don't plan for that. You don't know that that is even possible until it happens. It's not even possible. When you get in a car accident and let's say you're driving down the road and you stop at a stop sign or a red light and you get rear-ended, it scares the bejeebies out of you. You didn't even realize that that could happen until it does. And then from that point on until the history of the world ends, every time you put on the brakes, what do? You look in your rearview mirror and you're going to make sure that somebody's not going to hit you. So you're not afraid of that person hitting you until it hits you, and then you're afraid. And then you begin to do things to protect yourself and to guard yourself and cushion yourself, and you don't even realize it. Much like what I talked about last night with my youngest daughter, Cassidy, I went into just freak out mode of protection. And like I said, I had to do it because clearly God didn't do it. He don't know what he's doing, you know, because he left us out, you know. That was an unspoken attitude. It was in my heart that I didn't even realize. I would never say that. I would never verbalize that, but my actions spoke that. When something happens to you, you begin to go into self-preservation mode, and you shelter yourself, you cushion yourself from the next big blow. Now everywhere I walk like this. I want to make sure, you know, that I don't trip or fall or break another bone. I had to have surgery. They had to replace the elbow. It wasn't you just fall and crack something. It was major. So, without warning, 2 years ago, we were just getting ready for Cassidy's wedding, which was a humongous event. And it was at our home, so it was, once again, getting everything ready and all that. Our oldest daughter, Kelsey, she was in the pictures last night that we showed. She was in the middle. I don't know if y'all remember that. She sat on the porch swing with me. She had not been living with us for quite a few years. And she says, "Mom, I need to talk to you." So Kelsey is our one that does not open up or communicate. We're not really sure why, because she doesn't communicate. She doesn't tell you why she doesn't communicate. So when she says, "I need to talk to you about something," I just dropped everything and I focused on her. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And she said, "I wanted to let you know that I have decided to check myself into Teen Challenge. And I can't show any emotion with her, because if you show any emotion at all, she will shut down." So I said, "Okay, all right, tell me what's going on." And she said, "Well, this is, you know, a time in my life where I really feel like that I need to get some help." And we had suggested this before, not really knowing what she was into, but knew that she wasn't living a lifestyle that we agreed with or that she was taught. So it goes back to choices. So she said, "I need to go." And I said, "Which one?" And she said, "It's Freedom House in Chakotah." And I knew immediately. I had gone there a couple of times as our women's group went to work on their campus to beautify it. We had redone some of their their rooms for the girls to sleep in. We had planted flowers. We had a tour. I said, oh, Kelsey, that's a phenomenal place. It's a teen challenge for adult women, not teenagers. And she said, okay, good, Mama. So we took her and dropped her off, and she was there for a year. And of course, they get very little communication for the first 3 months. We didn't get hardly any communication from her. Then after that, we get one phone call a week for 10 minutes and one visit a month for 4 hours. And I never missed one. It was always there. We supported her in everything that she did. She was doing really well. It's a great program. If you're not familiar with Teen Challenge, it is a ministry born out of the Assemblies of God. It's Assemblies of God ministry. Started back in the either late 60s or early 70s, and it started mainly with men. And they've branched out, is now worldwide, and they have teenagers, they have adolescent and women's and men's. And it is a Christian-based program for life-controlling issues. It can be drugs, it can be alcohol, it can be coming out of prostitution, abuse, and anything that controls your life and that you can't get out of, they're there to help you. So she was there for, like I said, a year. Everything was going really, really well. And months rock on. She is telling us everything that we want to hear. She's showing us everything we want to see. We're super, super proud of her. And during this time, a friend of mine that I knew, just kind of an acquaintance, I knew that her daughter had gone through a teen challenge at a different facility for teenagers years before. They were planning their women's conference, much like this one, and she said, would you mind giving your testimony? Basically about Kelsey and where we're at and how good she's doing. I'm like, sure, I can do that. And then without warning, out of nowhere, I get a call from Pastor Karen, who's the director at Freedom House. And her first words were, Tanya, I just wanted to let you know, I'm sorry to let you know that we've had to kick Kelsey out. And I said, please don't tell me this. Please don't tell me. She goes, I'm very sorry, but she's doing things that we cannot allow. Come to find out, she had been living a completely alternate lifestyle within the system for 5 months. And she was showing us what we wanted to see, telling us what we wanted to hear, but all the while doing what she wanted to do. Those are her choices. Does not make the heartbreak any better, because I had a million moms say, this is her choice. I'm like, I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to hear that anymore. But I taught her this. I've shown her this. She knows the right way. She chose to go this way. Then I thought, a few weeks down the road, I'm like, oh my goodness, in a few months I have to give my testimony. And I mean, what do I say? What do I do? Because it's not what they want to hear. I mean, they don't want to hear some sob story with a terrible ending. That's not the kind of testimony they want me to, the bottom fell out, and then walk off the platform and not have anything, So I was like, what do I do with this story? Because I'm just in the middle. The middle is not a very good place to be. And the word middle doesn't have a very good reputation. If you stop and think about it. You've got middle age, middle school. You teachers that teach middle school need a crown to wear every day. Yes, you do. Middle of the night, middle of the storm, middle finger. Middle of nowhere, middle of the road. Do you see what I'm saying? In the middle, you don't have the anticipation of starting something, It's exciting. You're getting ready to go on a trip, and you're packing, you're buying little outfits, you're getting your little snacks together. There's excitement because you're at the beginning. And you don't have the benefit and the privilege of being at the end and having all of the wisdom and the knowledge and seeing how God worked it all out at the end. At the end of the trip, you have pictures and stories to tell. In the middle is the trip. And the trip's not always fun, especially when you got a car full of kids. It's just not fun. Cassidy, was the throw-upper in our family. If we went over a hill like that, she was puking. So we tried to prepare, you know, and I had 2 older ones, and then I had 2 younger ones. There were 6 years between the 2 batches. Yes, the same daddy. I had people ask me that. If it's any of your business, they all have the same daddy. Can you believe people ask that question? Are they got all the same daddy? I'm like, what? Don't you want to know how cute my hair is or where I get my hair cut? You want to know if they got the same daddy? So in the car trip, you know, we would prepare, but, you know, we leave at 5 o'clock in the morning because Pastor Devin wants to get up before anything in the planet is up and leave. So you stop at McDonald's on the way. Cassidy would drink chocolate milk because that's all she wanted, and she loved eggs. So that means what comes up is chocolate milk and scrambled eggs. Let me just tell you, I can still smell it to this day. So we had, back before TVs were in the car, or we could even afford a TV in the car, we had borrowed a little TV from somebody, and Devin had rigged it up with this little something underneath it, like a cinder block or something, so they could see. Strapped in with a bungee cord, all these wires going up to the cigarette lighter, anything to shut the kids up, anything. And then we had this carry-on suitcase full of videos, not the DVDs, the videos, you know, the big ones, in the cases. So Cassidy needs to throw up. She doesn't give you a heads up. There's no warnings. Without warning, all of a sudden you hear this familiar sound, you know. And I look back, and she threw up in the video bag with all the videos. Some of them were in the cases, some of them weren't. So we have to pull over, strip her down, take everything out of the car seat, get the videos. Colton, who was probably 12 or 13 at the time, he's the sweetest thing ever, my oldest. He's getting like a little Q-tip. Because we want to watch Jungle Book, well, we got to throw up the scrambled eggs out of the, you know. The middle of the trip is not always the greatest, you know, because things happen. So that's where I was. I was in the middle. You're just sort of in limbo. Then I felt the nudge of the Holy Spirit. Don't you just love when that happens? I'm so grateful. I'm telling you, I'm so grateful for the Holy Spirit. Someone asked me the other day, what are some things I pray for? I said, I pray for the conviction of the Holy Spirit. Because without that, I'd be off I don't know where I would be. But he keeps me in line. It's not always pretty, and it's not always enjoyable to hear, but it is definitely necessary. So the Holy Spirit said, so you mean to tell me that you don't have faith and confidence in what I'm doing if you can't see the end? So the fact that you can't have everything all neat and tied up in a pretty bow about Kelsey, then you don't have anything to say? So you can't testify of my goodness when life isn't all perfect? Yes, you are in the middle, but so am I. And maybe, just maybe, somebody else out there is in the middle too. So if you stop and think about it, the majority of our life is in the middle. Your beginning is short and the end is short, so everything else is in the middle. Why can't everything be like a double-stuffed Oreo? The middle is so good, you know? But life is just not like that. And he said, I was in the middle of the fiery furnace. I was in the middle of the belly of the whale. I was in the desert. I was in the Red Sea. These are all places where the people had lost all hope. I'm just telling you right now, if someone tried to put me in a fiery furnace right now, first of all, I'd be like a cat that's trying to go through a door. I'd be all fours trying not to go in. But you know there's no way out. There's no way out. These people had no hope, and that's where God was. In the lion's den, I can tell you right now, Daniel wasn't thinking, okay, God, I know you're going to be here in just a second. No, he was probably climbing up something trying to get away. The belly of the whale, same thing. You know, when days go by and you haven't heard anything and you don't see a sign of anything, the desperation that takes place, that's where he was. The Red Sea. No one would ever think that God would not only part it, but leave it parted for you to go through and then take care of the enemy on the backside by letting it close in on top of them. He never leaves us. He never forsakes us. And it's in the time when we think that there is no way out. Because sometimes there's not. Life's not always great. We heard some testimonies up here from these beautiful women, beautiful testimonies. And they don't all have great, perfect little endings. But their testimony was beautiful because God's faithfulness was there and is still there. If that church asked me to tell the testimony of Kelsey today, it would be just like it was then. And I did. I told my testimony. Everybody else's testimony was like how God pulled them through and God showed up and did all these, great and wonderful things. And I stood there as proud as I could be with my head held high. Because the moment Pastor Karen said, Kelsey's been kicked out, when I hung up the phone, I said, God, number one, I will never, ever doubt you. I will never, ever stop praising you for what you're going to do. And I will never, ever stop my support for Freedom House because I had been supporting them in all sorts of ways. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to crank it up. I'm going to spit in the devil's eye. And I'm going to act and walk and talk and live like my miracle has already happened. Because today looks just like it did a year ago. I don't know where she is. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know what her mindset is. I don't know if she's okay or if she's not okay. And the guilt that comes with that, the enemy just jumps on you with all fours. And well-meaning people add to that. They don't mean to, but sometimes they just don't know what to say. But every once in a while, it's been been about 13 months since she's been kicked out. They'll come, have you talked to Kelsey lately? I'm like, no. You haven't talked to her? That makes me feel like a terrible person. I look at the daughters of you ladies that gave the testimony of what a legacy you've left behind and how they love the Lord and they learn from you. And I'm so grateful for that. I want that. I want to hear my daughter say that. There's no evidence of that right now because I'm in the middle. I'm stuck here. I don't have any choices because this is not my choice. This is her choice. But I will never stop praising him. I will never stop believing. He has not changed one bit. He is the same God that he was over here, that he was over here. He's the same right in the middle. And as I was praying about this conference and legacy, that is sort of a bittersweet subject for me. From the moment I found out I was pregnant, I took motherhood so seriously. I mean, that was 100% my job. There was no other job for me. That's what I did. And I was raising an only child. I didn't even have any kids around me. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. So I'm just fumbling around hoping I do the right thing, But I took it so seriously. And then all of a sudden they were all gone. They all moved out. Kelsey went to Teen Challenge. Cassidy moved, got married. My two boys were in school, one in ministry and one in school to go to ministry. So I was by myself. I had to find a new identity. You talked about that. You have to find your new purpose. My purpose in life was not just to be a mom. My purpose was to be a living, breathing creature that serves the Lord with all of my heart in everything that I do. The result of everything that happens does not change this, and it doesn't change that. So all the chaos around you is yucky, and sometimes there's not a thing in the world we could do about it. But what we do here and here is 100% in our control. I still struggle. I still battle. The enemy still comes in and says, I battled it sitting right there in that chair this morning. The enemy still comes in and says, you know what, your daughter's not saying those things to you because you screwed up somewhere. And then I start thinking, what did I do? What did I do? Did I say something? Did I have a bad attitude? Did I do something wrong? I don't know. I don't know. I'm open, Lord. I'm open to whatever you want from me through this whole process. He just wants me to trust him. Trust him. Trust him. Trust him. And it's hard. It really, really is. But if you're going through something, if you're in the middle of it, you're not at the beginning, the excitement of it. You're not at the end where you can look back and say, look what God has done. You are stuck in the middle. What you do here matters, and what you do here matters. Number one, don't listen to the enemy because he's a liar. Anything he says or does is not only a lie, it is apt to destroy you and your family. So don't give him the privilege. Don't even listen to him for 1 minute. If I listen to him for 1 minute, I'm like, I rebuke that. Does that thought line up with Scripture? Does that thought line up with what God says about me? No, it does not. So get out. And then I have to just dive back into, I'm going to praise you anyway. My theme is no matter what. I'm standing on the front row at our church, my hand up in the sky as hard as it can be. No matter what. No matter what. Sometimes that's all I can say. No matter what. No matter what. No matter how bad it looks. No matter how much people talk about me behind my back. No matter where my daughter is. No matter what. I will praise you. He is faithful. He is faithful no matter what. Whether we had a warning and we could prepare ourselves, or if it just blindsided us out of nowhere. I had no idea that could even happen. I did not know that your dad could betray you in a way that my dad betrayed me. These girls felt the same way. I had no idea that could even happen. So you can't prepare for it, but you can know that he is with you no matter what. No matter what. So the takeaway from today is, first of all, don't let the enemy tell you that there's something wrong with you. Don't give him the satisfaction of being defeated by him. Stand firm where you're at. Praise him no matter what. And know that in the middle, he is with you in the middle. If y'all have anything that you want to pray with about, I'm here. I'll be happy to talk with you and pray with you. There's other ladies here that would be happy to do that. I don't want you getting up from your chair and grabbing your burdens and putting them back on your shoulder and taking them back out again. I can't tell you how many times I did that. I'd go to the altar and I'd leave it with great intentions. And then before you know it, I'm dragging that thing back around. But a year and a half ago, we had a conference at our church, a freedom conference. There was 12 weeks of class time, and then we ended at the freedom conference. And I can show you the spot on the carpet where I stood the final time and gave it to the Lord. And I'm like, I'm so tired of being afraid of what's going to happen next. That fear of the unknown, what's going to happen, the fear of stopping at the red light and looking behind you, just waiting for the next, I didn't know that could happen, to happen. I'm so tired of being scared to death, anxious, fearful, have that dreaded feeling inside. I have got to get rid of this, God, because I can't do what you want me to do. I can't be productive. I can't be an example. I can't leave that legacy for my kids. I don't want that legacy of the person that carries around their burdens. I don't want to be that legacy of, I don't want to be one of those people also that they look at you and they see, she's got all of her stuff together. She's got it going on. Her family's perfect. And then they find out, oh, no, it's not. When something happens to me, I just get it out there. One of the first things I did when I found out Kelsey was going to Teen Challenges, I wrote about it. I asked her permission first. I said, who do you want me to tell that you're here? She thought about it for a minute. The girl that didn't want anybody to know, she goes, I want everybody to know. So I wrote about it. And I would say, I asked the directors there that the first few months of her being there was real. But after that, she just went back to her old ways. So I wrote about it, and I just put it out there. And of course, I'm so shocked. I had no idea. And then people just come from out of the woodwork. Moms that are hurting. They're heartbroken because their children are addicted to drugs, alcohol. I had emails and texts, taps on the shoulder, phone calls, letters in the mail, private messages on, Instagram, anything. It was just coming from all angles. And I'm like, I had no idea that so many people were hurting and were in the middle of this, like I was. But I got the courage to get it out there and talk about it. And it opened up a whole new dialogue, a whole new area of ministry for me. So now I have a Bible study, a prayer time that I lead once a month for moms of adult children. And these women come in, they're hurting, they're just looking for someone else to hang on to. So if we let the enemy tell us this is your fault, or if you'd have done better, if you'd have done this would have never happened, it keeps us in the shadows. It keeps us in shame, like we've done something wrong. And what happens when things are kept in the shadow? You know, it just sort of gets there and molds and grows and gets all nasty and festery. When you expose it to the light, there's a whole different ball game. I want to be able to let my kids see my legacy to be that I was open enough to talk about it. I'm not afraid. This is not my fault. This is not something that I have done. I own responsibility for whatever there is, but I can't be responsible for someone else's action. So I encourage you also, if you're going through something, don't keep it in. Don't hide it and hold it, because you're not going to get better. It's not going to go anywhere if you just sit there and hold on, because it turns into anger and bitterness and resentment, and it grows and it gets worse and worse and worse. So I encourage you, if you have something that you're going through, please find somebody to talk to, whether it be a therapist or a counselor or some of these ladies here. I'll be happy to talk to you. But don't carry the burden alone, and give it to the Lord. Don't pick it back up when you leave this seat. Don't just leave it. I wish I could see visible burdens left here. That would be awesome. You know, when everybody leaves, it's like if everybody left their purse, sitting here. That would be so great, just to know that you're not carrying that around anymore. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I want to pray. Heavenly Father, first of all, I want to thank you so much for this privilege, this awesome opportunity to come here today and to say what you want me to say. I prayed, Lord, before I got up here, that not one word would come out of my mouth that was not anointed of you. And I believe that you have answered that. The words that I said today, Lord, are for someone. It could be just one person. It could be 10 people. It could be everybody. But your word has gone out. And I pray, God, that their hearts were receptive to what you have to say, and that they would take it and let your ministry begin in this area that they have going on in their heart, Lord, something it's not settled. They're in the middle. They don't know what to do. We give you those things, Lord. We open up ourselves to you, and we show you our hurt, our anger, our resentment, our huge, big red question mark. Why? Why? Let's get it all out. Let's get it all out and give it to you, Lord, because you are good and just and faithful to take our burdens and carry them for us. We were not designed to carry the burden. Our bodies can't handle that, physically or spiritually. You have a job for us to do as women, a job that a man can't do, the job that the lady beside us can't do. This is a job that you have for us as individuals, and we want to be prepared. We want our bodies and our spirits to be prepared for what you have. We're believing for good things because you are faithful in the beginning and in the end, but in the middle is when you shine. We trust you, Lord, with everything we have. We will never stop believing. We will never stop believing in you. We will never stop trusting, and we will never stop praising your name. Even if we can't see it, we're praising you, God, because you are big, and that your promises are true, and that you never, ever, ever leave us. Ask, Lord, now, God, that you would begin to move on the hearts of these women. Tell them what you want to tell them. Give them the courage to do what needs to be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
The altars are open if you want to come. We're going to just worship him for a little longer. If you need to talk to Tawny, if you need to talk to any of you ladies, if you want to come up, feel free. If you want to stand, if you want to kneel, if you want to come to these steps and pray, we're just going to
I've been